Hi, Virgo. I'm Anna, and welcome back. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm so happy to have you guys all here, both old and new subscribers. Okay, Virgo, I see you. The way you carry yourself through days that ask too much and give too little. The way you keep showing up even when the account is low and the hope is thinner than you'd like. I see the quiet dignity of someone who has learned to make do, to stretch, to hold things together with sheer will. And I see something else now, something stirring beneath that dignity, a current, a pull, a sense that the ground beneath your financial feet is no longer the same ground it was 6 months ago, a year ago, a lifetime ago. Something has been shifting in the dark, in the unseen architecture of your life, and that shift is now close enough to feel not as a promise, as a presence. Let's talk about money. Not the way we usually talk about it, with tension in the jaw and a hand on the wallet. Let's talk about it as energy, as life force, as the material form of the choices you've been making, the integrity you've been holding, the faith you've been keeping when there was no reason to keep it. Money, at its core, is stored trust. Trust that your effort will be honored. Trust that your presence has value. Trust that you can exchange your energy for shelter, for food, for freedom. When that trust is broken, money becomes a source of fear. When that trust is whole, money becomes a source of flow. And what I'm picking up in the field around you is a restoration of trust, not a sudden, blinding revelation, a slow, steady return to a knowing you once had, lost, and are now reclaiming. The knowing that you are allowed to be supported, that you are allowed to have enough, that you are allowed to stop counting pennies in the dark and start breathing. This restoration has been happening in increments, moments you might not have recognized as significant, the time you said yes to an opportunity even though you weren't sure you deserved it, the time you asked for what you needed instead of waiting for it to be offered, the time you let someone help you without immediately planning how to repay them. These moments are not small. They are tectonic. They are the shift in the plates of your consciousness that allows a new topography to emerge. And that new topography is taking shape now. It is forming the valleys and rivers through which abundance will flow. Not because you willed it, but because you allowed it. Because you stopped standing in the way of your own receiving. You might be noticing the signs already. A check that arrives when you'd forgotten you were owed it. A client who pays more than you asked. A conversation that opens a door you hadn't seen. A piece of the puzzle that clicks into place without you having to force it. These are not coincidences. They are the first visible ripples of a tide that has been building far below the surface. They are the universe's way of saying you're ready for more, and here's a taste. The taste is real. The taste is yours. And the full meal, it's in preparation. Here's what I want you to understand about this moment. The flow that is coming is not random. It is not luck. It is not the universe playing favorites. It is the natural, inevitable result of your own alignment. Alignment between your inner sense of worth and your outer experience of value. Between what you've been cultivating in the quiet and what is now ready to manifest in the visible. Between the version of you that learned to survive and the version of you that is learning to thrive. That alignment has been your real work. Not the hustle, not the grind. The work of clearing the old debris from your relationship with money. the debris of messages that said you were not enough, the debris of watching others have while you went without, the debris of equating financial ease with moral failure. That debris has been heavy. It has been clogging the channels, and you have been moving it piece by piece, often without even knowing you were doing the work. That work is why the flow is coming, not as a reward, as a consequence. Think of it this way. For a long time, your financial life has been like a garden with a hose that only drips. You've been tending that garden anyway. You've been watering with patience, with creativity, with a stubborn refusal to let it die. And in the tending, something shifted. You loosened the soil. You cleared the weeds. You created conditions where growth was possible. Now the water is coming, not because the hose suddenly decided to cooperate, but because the blockage at the source has cleared. The pressure that was always there is finally reaching your garden. And the garden, it's ready. It's been waiting. It's about to be lush. This is where the energy of money on the way becomes tangible, not as a prediction of a specific number, but as an experience of momentum. You feel it in your body. That strange lightness in your chest when you think about your finances, that uncharacteristic calm when you open bills, that sudden vision of a future where you're not constantly calculating, constantly negotiating, constantly tired. That feeling is the tide. It's the current reaching you before the wave. It's your system acclimating to a new frequency, a new baseline, a new way of being in relationship with resources. And here's the critical piece. The way you meet this momentum matters. If you meet it with the old reflex, grasping, hoarding, checking the balance 10 times a day, you'll create a new blockage. The reflex of scarcity is a reflex of contraction. It squeezes the channel closed. But if you meet it with openness, with breath, with the quiet practice of allowing, the channel widens. More can come. More will come. Not because you're doing something special, but because you're not doing the thing that blocked it before. You're letting the water flow through your garden without building a dam. You're trusting that the source is abundant and that your role is not to control, but to steward. This is the deeper work, the work that nobody sees, the work of becoming someone who can hold abundance without it turning into anxiety. Someone who can receive without immediately wondering when it will be taken away. Someone who can let the money move through their life, nourishing, supporting, freeing, without getting stuck in the old patterns of fear. You've been practicing this in the small moments when you let yourself enjoy a small purchase without guilt, when you gave without calculating the cost, when you allowed someone to contribute to your life without immediately planning how to repay them. Those were reps. They were training, and you're ready for the next level. So what does that level look like? Not a fantasy, a real picture, more space to breathe, more capacity to say yes to things that matter and no to things that don't, more ability to support the people and causes you care about without depleting yourself, more freedom to create, to rest, to explore. That's what this shift offers. Not a life of excess, but a life of ease. Not a burden of more, but the relief of enough. You've been carrying the weight of not enough for so long. It's become familiar, almost comfortable in its discomfort, but you're being asked to put that weight down, to let your shoulders rise, to let your breath deepen, to let yourself experience what it feels like to have what you need and then some, and to trust that the sum is not a trick, not a test, not a thing that will be snatched away. The money that is moving toward you is not just money. It is proof. Proof that your persistence had a point. Proof that your integrity was not naivety. Proof that the seeds you planted when the ground was hard are now breaking through. Proof that you were right to keep going, right to keep believing, right to keep showing up even when the evidence said it wasn't working. That proof is coming in a form you can hold. And when it arrives, let it land, not with a gasp of disbelief, with a breath of recognition. This is the harvest. This is the alignment. This is your life finally catching up to your soul. There is something else here, something about the timing, not a date on a calendar, but a season in your spirit. You have been in a season of preparation, a season of invisible work, a season where the results didn't show, but the roots were growing. That season is closing, not because you forced it to close, but because it has done its work. The roots are deep enough, the structure is strong enough, the vessel is ready, and now the visible growth begins. Not all at once, perhaps. Growth rarely works that way, but it begins. The first green shoots are already breaking the surface. The first evidence that what was underground is now above. You see it in the small windfalls, the unexpected opportunities, the doors that were stuck now swinging open. These are not random. They are the emergence of what was always there, waiting for the conditions to be right. Your role now is to be present, to witness, to receive without grasping, to let the flow move through you without trying to dam it, to trust that the same force that brought this abundance will sustain it as long as you stay open, stay grateful, stay aligned. This is not passive. It is the most active thing you can do to release control, to release the old reflex of scarcity, to let yourself be held by the same current that holds the planets, the seasons, the tides. You are not separate from that current. You never were. You just forgot. And now you're remembering. So go ahead. Let the feeling of money on the way settle into your bones. Let it become a place you live, not a place you visit. Let it change the way you walk through your day, the way you hold your shoulders, the way you meet the next hour. Not because you're waiting for something, but because you're becoming someone who knows they are supported, someone who knows their value is not in their bank account, but in their being, and that the bank account is simply a reflection of that being finally catching up. This is not the end of your journey. It's a milestone, a marker, a proof that you're on the right path. And the path, it keeps going, wider now, easier now, lighter now, because you're carrying less, because you're trusting more, because you've learned, finally, to let the current carry you. I don't sell futures, I build architects. No predictions, just the raw truth for the tough ones. Stay magic, stay in the now.